Libyan fighter jets have targeted army ammunition depots near the capital, Tripoli, and bombed command centers on Monday night. It's believed that Muammar Gaddafi ordered the strikes to prevent troops from joining the protesters. It is 12 GMT. Hello, I'm Fuli Batibo. You're watching Al Jazeera live from Doha. Also ahead, Muammar Gaddafi appears on Libyan TV saying he is still in charge. And as foreign nationals start to flood out of Libya to escape the violence, plans to prosecute the Gaddafi regime are gathering force. Will be on the Libyan borders in Tunisia and Egypt.
Hi, I'm Divi Gopalan in Kuala Lumpur. At least 65 people are dead and 200 still trapped under debris after an earthquake in New Zealand's second largest city.
Well, we start with the uprising in Libya. Let's just bring you up to speed now if you're just joining us with the latest developments in that country. The Turkish Prime Minister has warned Libya's government of making a mistake if it chooses to disregard its people's demands. The United Nations Rights Chief has raised the possibility of crimes against humanity in Libya. The Egyptian army has beefed up its military presence on the border with Libya. The Arab League is also expected to hold an emergency meeting on Tuesday to discuss the situation in the troubled country. Well, Al Jazeera has more information now on the bombardment of the capital by military jets on Monday night. Our sources tell us that the bombing was focused on army ammunition depots near Tripoli. Jets also targeted command centers. It seems to stop any troops joining the protesters or perhaps to stop protesters getting hold of weapons. And witnesses say helicopter gunships were used to fire on the streets in order to scare demonstrators away. Well, Lawrence Lee has been following the developments in Libya and has this report now.
The latest appearance on Libyan television by Muammar Gaddafi was designed to shake off rumours that he'd fled and was still in charge. He said he was in Tripoli, though the place he was filmed in was anonymous. He didn't refer to the protests, though he described the international media as dogs for the coverage of the unrest. All the same, it's not the international media which is now accusing him potentially of crimes against humanity. It's the United Nations which has said his military fired on protesters from either helicopters or warplanes, along with numerous reports from the ground, which have said that the gunfire has been mixed with heavy artillery. The government denies it, but two Air Force colonels who flew their jets to Malta to defect have alleged that they were ordered to fire on their own people from the air. The head of the United Nations, like many other world leaders, has insisted the violence against the protesters has to stop.
Libyan authorities have been firing at demonstrators from the warplanes and helicopters. This is unacceptable. This must stop immediately.
From the streets, the internet video continues to seep out, defying the media ban by the Libyan government. All these pictures do is suggest chaos in Benghazi or Tripoli, with images of terrible injury, but no clear sense of which way this uprising is going. There are also pictures of pro-Gaddafi demonstrations, but because of the media ban, it's also impossible to say whether these are real or staged. The Arab League and the United Nations are both meeting on Tuesday amid increasing criticism from Libyan society that the international response hasn't been anything like strong enough so far.
We think that the international community should also take a stand against what's happening in Libya at the moment. I think Security Council have to play a role. The condemnation is not enough.
More web video has come out which claims to show black African mercenaries hired in Tripoli. Once again, it's denied by the government, but reports from Tripoli say the mercenaries fired indiscriminately on the protesters. As the outside world holds meetings to work out what it might want to do about all this, the Libyan government continues to unravel in the face of the violence against its own people.
I don't speak to Colonel Gaddafi. The only thing I tell him on the air now, he has to get out. Either he get out or the Libyan people will kick him out anyway.
As things stand, Colonel Gaddafi himself appears entirely defiant in the face of all of this. There's so much violence that any chance of dialogue has disappeared. He and the protesters seem to have decided that this is now a fight to the death. Lawrence Lee, Al Jazeera.
Well, meanwhile, Libya's neighbours are growing concerned about the situation in that country. We have correspondents on both the Libyan-Tunisian border and the Libyan-Egyptian border. And Tunisians living in Libya have been returning to their country. The two North African countries share a 500-kilometre border. About 50,000 Tunisians work there and are leaving because of the violence. Nazanin Mousheri is at the Tunisian border town of Ras AlJazeera, joins us now live. Nazanin, tell us first about what's been happening where you are. What's the activity like there?
Well, as the day develops, we're getting a clearer picture, really, of what is going on just a few hundred metres away from us on the Libyan side of the border and all the way the road down to Tripoli, which is 160 kilometres away. There has been a steady stream of Tunisians coming across, hundreds, in fact 700 so far since early morning, 6,000 over the last couple of days. Many of these people have left their lives, they left their homes, their jobs, because they're concerned about what they've been seeing, looting and burning and escalating violence in a situation really which is descending, many of them said to us, into chaotic scenes. They've seen militia, armed gangs on the roads out of Tripoli to the borders, stopping Libyans, they say, from coming any closer to the border, but allowing Tunisians out. Now we can see this tent behind me has been erected just to help the Tunisians, giving them food and water, trying to get them home, because a lot of them say all their money's been taken away from them. When they reach the border here, the Libyan police and army take their money and their mobile phones away from them, only allowing them across with their clothes.
What are the Tunisian authorities doing, Nazanin, to ensure that the 50,000 Tunisians that live in Libya are back home safely? And are the Libyans cooperating at all?
I think the impression that we're getting from the Tunisians is they want to maintain cordial relations with the Libyans. They don't want to anger them in any way, and they're not really pushing this any further than they have been, which is just to say that they are sending 2 planes in, but we haven't seen any sign of that. Tunisians we've been speaking to saying if you're in the west of Libya, then you can get out easily through this border, but if you're in Benghazi in the east, and there are Tunisians there, it is absolutely impossible for them to get out. There have been Tunisians sleeping in the consulate in Tripoli and nobody there to help them at all. So they are pretty angry about the situation. We've spoken to the Ministry of Defence here in Tunisia. They've been holding meetings this morning. They said they're going to beef up the military presence here. We have seen more units and helicopters coming in just to secure this area, but a lot of people here are really bewildered about what is going on.
Thank you very much, Nazanin Mousheri, reporting live there from Ras AlJazeera on the border between Libya and Tunisia. Meanwhile, Egypt